If you run an alternative school, there's a timing mistake, and it's costing you families who would have been a perfect fit for your program, but that you started marketing to way later compared to what it should have. Today, I'm going to show you exactly where the mismatch is, who your real competitor is, and its spoiler, it's not other schools. And I'm going to give you a month-by-month enrollment rhythm you can start using this week. 3 exercises come along the way, so grab your pen, because this is an actually actionable video. Now, before I show you the whole timing fix, you need to understand who you're actually talking to. Because most families think about enrollment like this. There are families looking for schools, and we need to get them in front of them. And that's not wrong, but it misses the bigger picture. And that is that families are not just looking for you, and you're just not attempting to be seen by these families. You might have families who are ready to choose who might make up for 3% of your market. These families are actively comparing schools right now. They're scheduling parent tours, asking friends for recommendations. They will decide within weeks. You have about 17% of families who might be doing research. They're not ready for a tour yet, but they're Googling. They're reading blogs. They follow school accounts on Instagram. They'll build in a short list. They might have gone into ChatGPT, ask for shopping research, and just shortlisted all of the options that came out. There's a third type of family who makes up about 20% of the market, and they are feeling the problem. They feel that something isn't working, that their child is unhappy, bored, anxious. They haven't started looking yet, but they sense they need to. And after this third type of family, you're gonna have a fourth. And this is the type of families who are not thinking about it yet. This make up for about 60% of the market. For them, everything seems fine. They're not in the market. They matter long term, but they're not our focus right now. You know, if they were, there would have to be a lot of convincing to have to be done when you can see that there's a big portion of the market who is just interested in you right now. Now, here's where schools mostly go wrong. Almost all enrollment marketing targets go for group 1, which is the 3% who are ready to choose you. The ones who are ready to go into a parent tour or a campus tour, or they click on the apply button, or they fill up your enrollment form. The issue with group 1 is that it is the tiniest slice and the most competitive. Every school in town is actually fighting for it, either through offering what you're offering or through advertising on Google or Meta for the kind of keywords that they're looking for. Maybe it's like Montessori schools near and then their neighborhood. Very clear searches related to a purchase decision in the near future. The real opportunity is actually group 2 and 3. These are families who are either researching or feeling the pain. They're open but not ready, and they're making decisions months before you think they are. A family in group 2 in March becomes a family in group 1 by July. If they found your school what they were researching in March, you are on the short list. If they didn't find you until September, once you're rushing to fill up with all those spots that you thought you were going to fill but you didn't, you're not going to take them. This is the timing mismatch that I was hinting at earlier. Most schools market to group 1 in fall. But groups 2 and 3 were making decisions on spring and summer, and you didn't create the kind of assets that made it so that they made a purchase decision to join your school by the time summer came up. Now, before we even go into the solution to this problem, we have to even think just for 1 more minute. That's as much as I'm gonna take you before I show you the 3 exercises that you're gonna use to fix this. But before you do that, or before I do that, we're gonna have to talk about who the real competitor is, because the competitor, or when parents are making a purchase decision, they're not comparing you to your competitors. It's not just the school that happens to be a new charter school close to you, or the new Montessori school, which seems to be taking all the families. The real competitor for most alternative schools, it's inertia, the default, the path of least resistance. Think about it from the parent side. Switching schools is a huge disruption. New routines, new friends, paperwork, uncertainty, new family routines that need to be set out so that the environment that is being created within the school is actually nurtured at the house. Even if the parents are unhappy and staying put, it's also easier. The only thing that beats inertia are schools that make themselves so clear and so vivid that parents say, this is exactly what my kid needs. It's the schools that are capable of creating such a compelling promise for so little apparent work that the families say it's a no-brainer decision to incur in the time and cost and whatever changes are necessary to go out from that traditional school system into the alternative that this person is presenting to me. And that clarity needs to reach them early, in the spring, when parents are researching and open. Not in September, not in July, not in August, when they have already settled back into the routine of staying put in the options that they already chose years ago. So I'm gonna go into the very first exercise. I've spoken a lot. The very first exercise is a timing map. I want you to map your last year of enrollment efforts. Grab a piece of paper, a Notion, a Miro, and draw 12 boxes, 1 for each month. Now mark every month where you did something active for enrollment. Ads, open houses, social media pushes, email campaigns, website updates, whatever it may be. For most schools, you will see a cluster in August through November, maybe a spike in January, and then nothing until the next fall. Now, I want you to draw a star on the months of March, April, May, and June. Those are the months when groups 2 and 3, researchers and the pay feelers, are most active. How much overlap is there between your stars and your activity? If there's a gap, then chances are that you're experiencing a timing mismatch in all the marketing efforts that you're using. And chances are, or I'm very happy to bet against you, that this is what's costing you so many families every enrollment season. Now that you have filled out all these boxes, you want to go into the 12-month rhythm. Instead of one big push in the fall, we're going to spread your enrollment effort across 4 seasons. Each season has one job, and this varies across the schools that I work with, but most likely you're not using any of these as part of your enrollment rhythm. So anything you do is it's bound to just give you more results than what you're getting. So here's how I like to think about it as a common pattern for most schools. January and March are the best opportunities for you to plant seeds. Your goal in this area isn't to necessarily get applications, but to get discovered. You want families in group 3, the ones feeling the problem, to stumble across your school and think, that's interesting. One of the ways in which you can do this is by creating short content about what makes your approach different. Blog posts, short videos, social media posts, not apply now, not open houses, just useful, interesting content that makes a parent think. For my school, the Socratic Experience, the school in which I serve as an executive, and I basically oversee anything related to making money and keeping money, I released around, I believe it was February 28th, an entire book on a lot of the beliefs that the founder of my school has developed across 35 years of innovating in alternative education. I've taken all the content within that book and told all the stories, which in many ways are the stories and beliefs and principles that influence what we do at our current school, the Socratic Experience. The reason behind releasing this in February 27th, 28th, in February, rather than in June, July, or around October, is to give families enough time to spend hours with us, reading about our content, reading the book, and then going into social media and doing the exact same thing, just gathering more information about what it is that we believe. The whole intention is that if we plant these seeds early on, we will increase the likeliness that by the time a family comes in June, May, maybe August, hopefully, July is the latest, they already have made a decision about going with us over anything else. In April and June, families are now actively researching. This is when you want to be everywhere they're looking. One of the ways in which you can do this is that you can make your website answer every question a researching parent would have. Add a what makes us different page with specific picture-making language, the kind we built in the tuition video of how to make sure that people look past your high tuition and just purchase you. And you can see this video somewhere up here. You can also run a spring open house. You can also start an email list for interested families with a simple opt-in, thinking about alternatives, and maybe go into explanations about your school, maybe public research that is analyzing your school compared to others, and anything that could make you solve this answer or this question from a prospective family. And this is where the short list gets built. If you're visible and clear in April, you're on it. If you're silent until September, chances are that by the time someone makes a decision, your name will just be some kind of blur. Not even that, it will not be anything that they think about when they're making a decision. I want you to think about conversion. In this point, people are already deciding. I would actually change July and I'll say June. This is where the most families are deciding about the new school in which they're going to be in. This is when the traditional stuff works, but only because you've already been in their world for months. Some of the things that could work and some of the initiatives that you might implement here are personal follow-ups with interested families, campus visits, phone calls, the tuition script that you might have created to present your price right, which I went into in a previous video. The goal is to make the decision easy for families who already know they belong. By this stage, again, you should have created enough assets so that people are not asking themselves, what is this school about? How does it look like? And instead, they're asking themselves deeper questions around, how does this look like specifically for my family? The assets you create and the time you spend should be focused on asking these deeper questions. But remember, this will only work if you have already done the work of establishing all that communication foundation that we have set out from January until this point of June, July. A critical point to remember is that by July, inertia is your biggest enemy. Families are setting back into routines, so your follow-up needs to be personal and timely, not just applications still open. But hey, Sarah, I was thinking about your question about the reading program. Here's what that looks like in practice. If you want to actually live it in practice, hey, we're hosting a shadow day. School is actually off during the summer, but it turns out that a lot of our students just love doing extra classes. Why doesn't your child just attend with us or something like that? And again, the whole point is you want to make it simple to go beyond that inertia. And that involves all the foundation that you've done between January and June, but also just more active attempts from you to helping them close the finish line. Now to finish off, and I know that I'm taking a while, but this is all related to building on your marketing plan towards all, related to all your enrollment efforts. But now we get into the stage of October, December. And this is where enrollment cycle is almost done. But this is when your plan also seeds for next year's. I want you to stay visible to the families who weren't ready for this year but might be for the next year. Share what's happened at the school, student projects, community events, parent testimonials. Really, you can go with Enroll now, but most likely I would just go with, hey, this is what's happening. Keep showing up, getting to the point in which you might even make a family stressed out about them having made a decision about going to another school rather than yours. And if you plant these seeds early, if you remain top of mind, once the new school season comes in, once you're back in January, and once you're back into setting all that foundation, maybe you can start making them, make a decision, not only by showing what's actually happening within your school, but maybe by highlighting the fact that, hey, or you can join in the middle of the year, we'll just prorate whatever we're going to charge, and all sorts of solutions. And with that, I give, I conclude this context and actually go into the actionable part, which is not just related to recognition of what you could be doing, but actually to mapping your next 90 days. So for this technically third exercise, but technically also the second one, because it's the one in which you will actually write, based on the season you're in right now, I want you to write 3 specific actions you will take in the next 90 days. I'm obsessed with action, and I would actually say something like the next week or the next 2 weeks. But chances are that you might, if you're anything like a lot of the schools that I work with, they're so focused on their mission that at times anything related to business, it's not that they want to ignore it, it's just that it's too much. So for now, let's just focus on the first 90 minutes, the first 90 days. What I want you to set out is not just vague goals, but specific schedule actions. So these are some examples. By April 15, we're going to publish 10 videos showing what a morning looks like at our school. By May 1st, we're going to update the What Makes Us Different page within our website with specific language instead of just general descriptions that make us sound as any other school in the area. By June 1st, we're going to email every family who's expressed interest this year with a personal note. In fact, we're even going to hire a call center that is trying to set calls for our head of admissions so that they can just attempt to go deeper than whatever an email could have communicated. Write 3 of these actions, be specific, and if you cannot put them in the calendar, make them more concrete. And if you've already done that, and you feel that they're not concrete enough, or you're still asking yourself, what might I do to improve my enrollment during this season, just leave a comment, as I'm very much happy to just help you for free. And I can promise you that if you do the things that I just described, just like the school that I work with, we're gonna drastically reduce the amount of money that you're spending on ads, and you're gonna have, or just decrease by 4 times your customer acquisition costs. But even then, I really think it's worth reinforcing the aspect of inertia. I mentioned that your real competitor is inertia, the family's default to stay where they are. So let's talk about how to beat it. Most schools accidentally reinforce inertia in 2 ways. They describe themselves in general terms, they're nurturing, rigorous, community-based. This doesn't create contrast with where the family already is, and it sounds just too familiar, so they just go with something else because why would I go through the hassle of switching? The second thing that most schools do that inevitably reinforces inertia is that they make the next step feel heavy. They ask for a family tour, or for a long application, or to attend an information night. And each of these raises the effort bar that a family has to go through. The higher the effort bar, the stronger the inertia gets. The fix for number 1 is that you have to go with more specific language. And I'll show a video that explains to you how to do it. I'll show it right somewhere above. And fix number 2 is reducing what I call the first step weight. Instead of schedule a tour, come see our students in actions. Any Wednesday morning, no appointment needed, or maybe just a recording about one of the school sessions that happened. Instead of fill out a form, try telling families, hey, just tell us a little bit about you and we'll reach out if we think it's a fit. The lighter the first step, the more families take it. And the more families take it, the fewer you lose to inertia. And with this, I'm going to give you one last exercise. By this point, you might be, done with exercises. You already went through a process of, again, just mapping out the enrollment efforts that you've done so far. And now you know how to map better enrollment efforts depending on the month in which you're in. You've also set out 3 different actions, but now you're going to make sure that you maximize the kind of results that you get out of any of these actions by further reducing inertia. And for that, we're going to use the first step audit. For the first step audit, you're going to do something simple. You're going to pull up your school's website and you're going to think about your enrollment process. And what's the first thing you ask interested families to do? Is it the easiest? Is it the lightest? Is it the one that would demand the least effort? Write down your first step and just think of a lighter version. And you don't have to marry to it. That's the incredible thing about this. One of the simplest things you can do is that if you have a homepage, you might test a second page. You might use a tool like ClickFunnels or whatever you use. You set up an A/B test in which you have the same version of that homepage, but now rather than asking the heavy step you had, you ask the lighter one, and then you just check out how each of these are performing. Now, by this stage, you might be asking yourself, okay, I did all these steps or I'm about to do them. What are the kind of results that I may be expecting? And for that, I'm going to show you some basic math. which is gonna sound optimistic for some of you, but for most, I think it's gonna sound actually way too optimistic given how easy it is to get this kind of results. So if you go into NAIS data, you'll find that the average cost to enroll one student at a private school is $3,600. When you're marketing the wrong season, you're competing for a 3% who are ready. Again, the most expensive, the most competitive slice, the one everyone is going to. The school I work with, or the one that I've been thinking as I've been recording this video, as I told you, reduce customer acquisition costs by a third of this national average. Not by spending more, by spending at the right time, reaching families earlier, and making the first step lighter. Now, I want you to get to hear two things out of this that make this even better for you. The first one is that if your school situation resembles the one from the school that I'm describing, if you enroll 10 new families each year and each family stays for 4 years at $15,000, that's $600,000 for enrollment cycle. If fixing the timing adds even 2 more families, that's $120,000 in revenue that you were leaving on the table simply by using marketing enrollment tactics that were right for a specific time of the year, but maybe not so for another. But now, in applying all of this, you're gonna make sure that they find you early. So this is the first side that will make you, even more optimistic. It's just seeing the upside. But the other side is simply that the upside chances are that is even greater. The NAIS national average is mostly for private schools. And of course, with averages, you have ones that are maybe $5,000 per year, and you have other ones which might be 20, 30. If you're in alternative education though, chances are that your tuition is closer to 10, 20, 30. There are some schools that even charge $40,000 and $50,000. So chances are that your customer acquisition cost might be closer to $5,000 or even $10,000. By applying these changes that I have suggested to you, rest assured that not only you're going to be able to get closer to, that $3,600 from the national average, but I've already worked with enough alternative schools to tell you that you might even get to those $1,000 or $2,000 properly calculated customer acquisition costs, which most alternative schools might be just in full love to just be able to experience for themselves. So here's what you did today. You mapped your enrollment timing and found the gap. You built a 90-day action plan based on the right season, or at least the first 3 things that you're going to do in it. And you audited your first step to make it lighter for people to just try you out. The timing mismatch is one of those problems that it's invisible until someone points it out. Now you can see it, and the fix isn't complicated as you have seen. I can make it more complicated for you. I've made it more complicated for some clients because, of course, there are levels of complexity to the unique situation that each alternative school is going through. But rest assured that after working with tons of companies, I often find that this is more than enough to overcome a lot of the challenges that you have with investing tons of money that doesn't get you anywhere. If this was helpful for you, subscribe. I make this specifically for alternative school founders that are offering an incredible school experience, that have decades of experience building it, either directly or indirectly through having all sorts of experiences, but that for whatever reason struggle to just find a lot of the right families. I have talking head videos in which I'm just casually like this saying something, or workshop like videos like this one. If you want to see the next one, subscribe.